Sydney Sweeney has great genes. The one sentence that managed to set the internet ablaze, somehow spiraling into an internet-wide discourse about eugenics, whiteness, and femininity, and whether American Eagle was just trying to make a very odd joke, or if they're incredibly tone-deaf. Let's talk about it. But you might be asking, Isabella, what ad are you talking about? Let me explain. The ad itself is only about 15 seconds long. The camera pans up from Sydney Sweeney's legs to her face as she buttons up her American Eagle jeans. As the camera pans up, Sydney Sweeney says, genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like their hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue. And then on the screen, it says, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. At first, it's a play on words. Obviously, we're not talking about blue genes, we're talking about genetics. But in 2025, context is everything, especially when it comes to someone like Sydney Sweeney, who has already been in past controversies, and someone whose entire image has been carefully curated towards a specific type of femininity, one that's often characterized as soft, white, and traditional. So, on the surface, it's a joke, a pun, a play on words, but there's quite a weird undertone that it takes that often connects beauty to biology. And in 2025, when beauty is still often what determines how a lot of us are treated, it's hard not to make that connection. Sure, she might be talking about denim, but the subtext, whether intentional or not, pulls in something else, the link between beauty and inherited traits. And unfortunately, that is a link with a long, very ugly history. The word genes doesn't really hit the same anymore because we've seen how often it can get weaponized. Biological essentialism, the idea that our traits and our behaviors and our worth was determined by biology, isn't new. It's the foundation of eugenics, a pseudoscientific movement that justified horrific practices in the name of preserving certain genetics. Blonde hair, blue eyes, clear skin, the same ideals that are used to exclude, erase, and oppress anybody that doesn't fit into those genetic boxes. So when an ad links physical beauty to inherited traits, even subtly, it brushes up against that history a little bit too close. And Sydney Sweeney is a person that embodies every single characteristic. Sydney Sweeney's image has been meticulously curated since day one. In Euphoria, she plays this wide-eyed bombshell with an underlying vulnerability that makes her both desirable and pure. In rom-coms, she's bubbly and wholesome. Her appeal is softer, a classic beauty wrapped in an innocence. Think The Girl Next Door. And this is key because her image sits at the intersection of sexual availability and old-fashioned virtue. She's the type of woman that can be sexualized but still be wife material. The kind of woman that the more conservative corner of the internet idealizes as the antidote to modern feminism. And in this day and age, we're going through a massive shift. Trad wife is slowly slipping into modern aesthetics. A hyper-feminine, all soft, all nostalgic for a time that never really existed, or valued looks and pure imperfect genetics instead of a diverse humanity. Femininity is being rebranded as passivity and tradition. And the more these trends grow, the more we start to realize they're ideological, built to revert back to simpler times where people couldn't be free to be who they were. It's about control. It sells that a woman's highest value is being decorative, nurturing, and above all, non-threatening. And Sydney Sweeney is really, really good at existing in that Hollywood machine, one that rewards her for leaning into it. Whether she's in a soap ad or a jeans ad, the camera is telling us the same thing. This is beauty, and beauty looks like this. Now let's ask the obvious question. Was this ad just a bad joke, or was it very much on purpose? Maybe American Eagle didn't inherently mean anything, but marketing doesn't exactly get an excuse. In an era of algorithmic virality, nothing goes unnoticed. Everything is crafted, especially when it comes to who gets to represent this brand. When you cast somebody like Sydney Sweeney and pair her with a line about traits being passed down, you're playing with a long uncomfortable history, one that we're still trying to untangle and heal from. When we talk about visual semiotics in advertising, we're really talking about how brands are able to tell you exactly how they want you to feel without spelling it out at all. And these cues are more persuasive than any overt message would be. And the marketing boardroom isn't plotting world domination, but brands and marketing teams are extremely good at their jobs. They know that certain colors, textures, body languages, or even placement of objects can trigger things in your brain, and they deploy these choices with very, very careful precision. Take perfume ads, for example. They never actually tell you what the perfume smells like. Instead, they show you a woman getting out of a taxi in a rain-slicked Paris street, wearing a backless gown and turning her head in slow motion. The point isn't to sell you the notes of bergamot and cedarwood. The point is to sell you a life. A mysterious, luxurious, romantic life. And your brain can connect the dots without you even needing to hear the words. Now, with the Sweeney campaign, all of it taps into this effortless Americana aesthetic, one that signals tradition, purity, and nostalgia. The jeans are a shorthand for a kind of wholesome sex appeal, one that's both approachable and aspirational. And brands love this dual-coded messaging because it works on more than just the, oh, Sydney Sweeney looks great in these jeans level. It also works on a far deeper level, where if you buy this, you too can exist in this exact same universe, where you can embody familiarity, while also signaling a distinct, luxurious lifestyle. At the end of the day, the line isn't about jeans. It's about how marketing slips into culture, and culture slips into us. It's the same reason a soap ad can spark 1,000 think pieces and 10,000 Reddit threads, because not only are we watching an actress sell a product to us, we're watching an entire system use her face and her image to tell us a story about beauty, class, and who gets to be the face of America. And Sydney Sweeney is perfect for that story, whether she wrote that joke or not. Hi, I'm Isabella, and thank you for listening and joining me today. If you liked today's video, you should hit that like button because it really helps me out. And if you had fun this week, you should subscribe because I guarantee you'll have fun next week because I do post weekly every single Monday. Anyways, love ya, great to see ya, and I will see you next week. Bye!